What if one congressional district could reshape an entire political landscape? Let's dig into the story of Haley Stevens.
Hey, I'm Garrett, feeling pretty curious today.
And I'm Leah, excited to explore this topic with you.
Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
Today, we're talking about Haley Stevens, a Michigan representative who has made waves in Oakland County and on national policy. She blends a centrist style with a focus on manufacturing, technology, and pragmatic governance.
Okay, quick story to set the scene. I once stumbled across a local town hall clip from Commerce Township where things got heated over gun policy. People were shouting about the NRA, and Haley Stevens kept her cool and pushed back. Later, I saw that viral moment of her on the House floor during COVID, wearing those pink latex gloves to hammer home a safety point. It was a very visual way to say, this is serious. Not gonna lie, that image stuck with me. It telegraphed how she uses strong visuals when she thinks the stakes are high.
Let's open the book on this. Haley Stevens represents Michigan's 11th congressional district. That's most of urbanized Oakland County, the ring of suburbs north of Detroit that used to lean Republican, but has shifted blue over the last decade. She's a Democrat with a centrist profile, pragmatic on the economy, focused on industrial policy, and big on technology and workforce training. Industrial policy just means the government's toolkit to strengthen key industries like advanced manufacturing and autos to keep jobs and supply chains strong. That's close to the heart of her brand.
Right, and the district story matters. Oakland County has been a bellwether for suburban politics. When it flipped, it signaled bigger changes in Michigan. Stevens leaned into that with committee work that fits her lane, like education and labor and the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. She even served as ranking member on Research and Technology, which digs into how federal research dollars and innovation policies actually move the needle for jobs. That's pretty cool, right?
Here's where we begin on her path. She grew up in Southeast Michigan, born in Rochester Hills and later attending school in Birmingham, graduating from Seaholm High in 2001. She studied political science and philosophy at American University for her bachelor's, then earned a master's in social policy. Social policy, in simple terms, is how governments design programs that affect people's daily lives, like health, education, and jobs. That academic grounding lined up with what came next in her career.
Early on, she worked for the Michigan Democratic Party in 2006, then jumped into the 2008 cycle. She first worked on Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign and then joined Barack Obama's after the primary. After Obama won, she got pulled into the administration's presidential task force on the auto industry in 2009. For folks who don't live in Michigan, that was a huge moment. The auto rescue was about stabilizing companies, suppliers, and jobs. It gave her a front-row seat to crisis-era industrial policy decisions, which honestly became a long-running calling card in her later campaigns.
After that, she went deep on manufacturing innovation. She helped run a program in Louisville that focused on economic growth and workforce training. Then in Chicago at the Digital Manufacturing and Design Innovation Institute, she worked on bringing digital tools to factories and helped launch an online training program in manufacturing and design technology. Some folks dispute the claim that it was America's first online program of its kind. The point, though, is she prioritized scalable training so workers across regions could upskill at speed.
By early 2017, she's back in Michigan, and soon after she announces for Congress in the 11th District. The Republican incumbent then, Dave Trott, decides to retire. That blew the race wide open. The House Democrats' campaign arm, called the DCCC, named her to their Red to Blue program, basically a signal they saw a flippable seat and would help. She won the Democratic primary over Tim Greimel, who was a state representative, and then beat Republican Lena Epstein in the general. Add in Alyssa Slotkin winning next door, and suddenly no Republicans were representing Oakland County for the first time since the 1930s. Wild how that works out.
In that 2018 run, she got a late robocall from Hillary Clinton and an endorsement from President Obama, who highlighted her role in the auto rescue. People still debate how decisive the Clinton call was, Because in real life, it's never just one thing. Field teams, TV, and the national mood all pile up. But those endorsements certainly fit her narrative as the manufacturing and jobs candidate who could speak suburban fluently.
Once in Congress in 2019, she became co-president of the big freshman class along with Colin Allred, who is a Democrat from Texas. She backed the For the People Act, a major package on voting access, ethics, and campaign finance. And she leans moderate on issues like tariffs and trade, supporting targeted tariffs, basically taxes on imports, if they are structured to boost U.S. competitiveness without whiplashing Michigan suppliers. It's that balance she keeps pitching. Push back on China, but don't create chaos for auto parts makers in her backyard.
Let's take a turn into 2020 and beyond. She wins re-election against Erica Shockey in a tighter race than expected, even with GOP-aligned groups spending early. During COVID, she had that memorable pink gloves floor speech, and she kept pressing on manufacturing and workforce bills. She also visited Israel in 2019 and became a very vocal supporter of Israel. She opposes the BDS movement, which stands for Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions, a global campaign urging pressure on Israel, and later she even supported sanctioning the International Criminal Court after the court issued Gaza-related warrants. The ICC, by the way, is a court that tries individuals for war crimes and genocide. That vote was controversial inside her party, but consistent with her pro-Israel stance.
Now the big hinge moment. After the 2020 census, Michigan lost a House seat, and redistricting redrew the map. Redistricting is the once-a-decade line drawing that can totally change who lives in your district. The new lines made the 11th safely Democratic and put Andy Levin, another Democrat and a member of a well-known political family in Michigan, into the district. Stevens's home got drawn out, and she moved to Waterford to stay with most of her prior constituents. That set up a rare incumbent versus incumbent primary in 2022.
Okay, let's unpack the money piece because it mattered. AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, is a pro-Israel advocacy group. Its super PAC, called United Democracy Project, spent heavily in that race. A super PAC can raise and spend unlimited funds but cannot coordinate directly with a campaign. Emily's List, which supports pro-choice Democratic women, also put in significant resources. By late July, pro-Israel groups had spent millions to boost Stevens and oppose Levin, and Emily's List-aligned donors added roughly $5 million more. Their ads often did not mention Israel directly. Instead, they highlighted other contrasts. Meanwhile, Stevens emphasized reproductive rights after the Dobbs decision and her long-standing manufacturing message. She won the primary 60-40.
Why did the spending concentrate there so much? I mean, is it just about Israel policy, or was it a broader signal fight inside the party?
Both. It was about Israel policy differences, yes, but also about who would represent the reconfigured suburban district. In a primary where many voters already leaned moderate, the independent expenditures reinforced themes that were already resonant. And Stevens's focus on reproductive rights in that moment was powerful. Suburban women and younger voters were very mobilized, so the money amplified messages that fit the new lines and the mood.
After that, the 2022 general was straightforward, and she won with about 61% against Mark Ambrose, a Republican. In the House, she kept threading that centrist needle. She is a member of the New Democrat Coalition, the pro-growth moderate bloc. She also joined bipartisan spaces like the Problem Solvers Caucus. On immigration, she opposed abolishing ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and in 2025 supported a resolution that condemned a deadly attack and thanked ICE agents, while still saying the agency should be reined in. That's her vibe. Oversight, not abolition.
She also backs campaign finance reform, like the For the People Act, and even a constitutional amendment to allow limits on political money after the Citizens United decision. At the same time, she has not pledged to reject corporate PAC money and took about $1.7 million from corporate PACs between 2018 and 2025. That's a tension many candidates face in expensive media markets. Her line is, "We change the rules system-wide, but we can't unilaterally disarm under the current rules." Real talk, that's a tricky balance.
Then, she took a big swing in 2025, announcing for the open U.S. Senate seat with backing from party leaders like Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, and an endorsement from Jim Clyburn. The DSCC, which is the Senate Democrats' campaign arm, lined up behind her. But 2026 got intense. United Democracy Project spent around $15 million supporting her and opposing Abdul El-Sayed in the Democratic primary, and a group called A Stronger Michigan, reported to have ties to Meta, spent about $12 million more in her favor. She stayed consistent with her pro-Israel votes, including opposing an amendment to end U.S. military aid to Israel, and she talked about rebuilding Gaza while often declining to directly answer questions about AIPAC. In the end, though, she narrowly lost that primary to El-Sayed. That's a curveball. Heavy backing is powerful, but not a guarantee.
And through that period, she kept to a constitutional process frame on foreign policy. For example, on Iran in 2026, she said she opposed the war and insisted the administration had to follow constitutional processes with Congress, even as she supported regime change as a long-term goal. It may sound contradictory, but she framed it as pursuing long-term objectives while insisting any major military step follow the Constitution and congressional oversight. At home, she filed articles of impeachment against the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., arguing he endangered public health by turning away from science. Whether you agree or not, that shows how she pairs a pro-industry, tech-forward profile with a hard line on public health integrity.
So what lingers is this big question. How much did pro-Israel spending shape her trajectory versus how much was it her district fit and policy profile doing the heavy lifting? AIPAC's network and Emily's List are major players, and the sums we just mentioned are huge for primaries. Super PACs, again, can spend unlimited money independently, so saturation becomes a factor in lower turnout contests. Yeah, that checks out as something we should wrestle with.
Here's my take. Money matters. It always does. But in 2022 especially, the new district lines and the salience of reproductive rights after Dobbs put the wind at her back. She talked jobs and manufacturing in a place where the auto supply chain is everyday life, and she positioned herself as the predictable, pragmatic option. So the spending likely amplified a fit that already existed. And remember, when candidates don't align with their districts, even big spending can't carry them for long.
I hear that, and I agree the district fit was strong. I just think the sheer scale of outside money in both 2022 and 2026 is part of the story you can't skip. In tight or low salience primaries, wave after wave of ads shapes name ID, frames issues, and sets the baseline assumptions when voters finally tune in. It's not everything, but it can tilt the playing field. That's something to chew on, huh?
Totally. And there's a pop culture slice to all this, too. The late 2018 Hillary Clinton robocall got national buzz, and those pink gloves in 2020 became one of those sticky images from the pandemic-era Congress. Visuals and moments like that can crystallize a politician in the public imagination, for better or worse.
Counterfactual time. What if Dave Trott hadn't retired back in 2017? Picture Stevens running against a seated Republican incumbent in a still-shifting suburb. Incumbency comes with name recognition and built-in networks. I could see that race being way tougher. Maybe she still wins in a blue wave, or maybe it takes another cycle. Either way, the margin is probably thinner, and her rise might have been slower.
And if that had happened, Oakland County's all-Democratic House delegation moment might have arrived later. That delay could have rippled into statewide races because Oakland has become crucial for Michigan margins. It might have also changed her committee-influenced timeline. If she squeaks in later or with less momentum, she might not grab the same roles as quickly. Small hinges swing big doors. Retirements and redistricting are those hinges in politics.
Stay curious, folks, and keep exploring.
Thanks for joining us, and until next time on Laid Back Learning.